opportunity to connect with it when we have these kinds of events. And that's what it really boils down to. Instead of these families leaving and going to other jurisdictions and spending lots of money on hotels and restaurants, they can stay here and attend these events closer to home.
So when we talk about different events, and we talk about sports, I mean, I'm sure they run the gamut. There's so many different sports out there, but what are we talking about? Are we talking about soccer, football, baseball? What are we talking about?
Well, there's the traditional sports, and we have many leagues in Prince William County that represent these traditional team sports like baseball, softball, football, basketball, hockey, lacrosse, soccer, track and field, and swimming. But there's also these niche sports that we have been able to attract into the county that aren't the traditional ones, like pickleball, BMX. We have a BMX track, and we had USA BMX host their nationals here 2 years ago. Bass fishing tournaments at Lee Sylvania State Park, skateboarding, disc and frisbee golf, rowing, trail running, cyclocross, and orienteering. So there's many areas where the county can grow in these niche areas, as well as maintaining, the services that we provide for our residents and for the leagues that are here.
Can you give me an idea of how far people will travel, right, for these types of events? I mean, are we talking about people who would come to Prince William County just from Maryland or Richmond, or is it further than that? How far do people typically travel for these events?
Well, our location is perfect because we're right in the middle of the East Coast, and according to the Sports Travel and Events Association, 52% of all sports tourism happens in the southeastern region of the U.S. So in terms of travel times and things like that, we have families right now here in Prince William County who are going to Liberty University for their track and field tournaments. We have residents who are heading down to Florida for cheerleading tournaments. It runs the gamut. But
so it sounds like you have people who will travel across the East Coast to...
And the outdoor rec, the reason why 52% of sports tourism happens in southeastern United States is our climate, right? So, we can start earlier and end later, but it's just conducive to that. Plus, we have many different facilities, just south of us in Chesterfield County is a huge sports tournament, for soccer. The River City Complex there, they generate $41 million a year.
And this is outside of Richmond in Chesterfield County. So many people, while we were hearing from the public, when the Board of Supervisors was hearing from the public, we were there covering it, they said, we have to go to places like Hampton Roads. We have to go to Maryland. Some of the local meets in Northern Virginia actually take place in Prince George's County because there is no facility large enough to host us. Is that part of what's driving this desire to bring these types of facilities home to Prince William County and the region?
Is what driving the desire.
Knowing that people residents have to travel,
yes,
an hour and a half, 3 hours to Hampton Roads, even further, as you had mentioned, some to Florida, as you had anecdotally said. Mm-hmm. Is that part of what's driving the want?
I definitely think it's part of it. I mean, as stewards of county dollars, the staff as well as the Board of County Supervisors want to provide, opportunities for residents. But with the robust economy that we've been charged to affect, there are $11.4 billion that is direct spending in sports tourism in the United States. according to the Association of Sports Travel and Events. So if we could just get a piece of that, what would it mean to Prince William County residents? It would mean their favorite restaurants staying open. It would mean lower taxes because we would be able to, collect more taxes from out-of-town visitors, and less travel for them, when they're heading out to an event. So if it's in their own backyard.
So it sounds like these visitors, they come and they spend, they eat at restaurants, they shop in stores, and they stay in hotels, right? And that's
correct.
Where that tax revenue is going to come from, I assume. Is that correct?
Correct.
So when it comes to, I guess the typical parent here is, should one be concerned that I like to go to these restaurants, I like to shop at these stores, and if we start getting so many people from out of town, well, that's fewer seats for me at my favorite restaurant, or the traffic congestion is only going to get worse if we become a hub for sports tourism, as it were. What do you say to those people who might say that?
Well, I think with the limited resources that we've put towards sports tourism over the past 10 years that I've been in Prince William County, I don't think that there has been a huge impact in that regard where people notice, like, I can't get into my restaurant, or et cetera. A lot of these events are temporary, so it's one weekend. They're not feeling that effect now. We've had over 10 events that just the tourism office has helped to attract, and these events haven't impacted at all. What they really wind up doing is keeping our businesses open so that your favorite restaurant is actually still there.
But you say one weekend, but the idea here is to bring in people on a recurring basis, I assume. Right. So it's not just one weekend where people are coming out of the year. Right. Parents who hit the roads with their kids to head to sports tourism for tournaments and things like that, travel 25, 30 weeks out of the year, 30 weekends, I should say. So is it better to have this business than have this travel, have these visitors, have these tournaments here, and reap the reward, the ancillary tax dollars than not? Is that is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that the impact is minimal to the residents in that we are a large county. If there's a ice skating, curling tournament at one of our ice skating rinks, it's going to affect, the eastern end or the western end. We have 60 parks. We have, 155 miles of trails. There's so much available that's really underutilized in a lot of ways when our leagues and our tournaments and other events aren't happening. That the impact would be minimal in my opinion, and of course, we can adjust should that become an issue.
So let me ask you this: you this is something that's been identified that is a big to do for you. That the Board of Supervisors has talked about it. There are again, it goes back to that Parks bond where we had talked about building facilities that weren't cheap, right? Some of them $84 million, $100 million for indoor recreation facilities with tracks and swimming pools. So we're having this discussion as a community, but you've also now brought somebody onto your team at Visit Prince William County to focus on bringing these sports tourism tournaments here. Is that correct? Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So we have a full-time position that's been approved for the FY20 budget. It has not yet been filled, but we are working on that. And this position is really geared toward ensuring that there are events that we can service, like the ones that we already are doing, the Prince William Half Marathon, Tough Mudder that was held in June, the USA BMX event that I had mentioned earlier, and then creating events. The Tourism Advisory Board, which is made up of 12 industry representatives of varying tourism businesses throughout Prince William County, has created a signature event committee that's specifically focused on creating events that will further the brand, but also connect our assets and what makes us unique as a county to help brand us. There's a lot to be said for that, because it affects economic development decisions, travel decisions, and whether or not people want to live here. So it's all connected, and we want a piece of the pie. Fairfax and Loudoun have had specific staff that are focused on sports tourism for years. We've always kind of together with our group tour staff and our meeting staff who look to attract those kinds of groups in, have always mixed that together. But now that we're in the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department of the county,
which was a move, so many not to cut you off, but that was a move that was done in the past 2 years, where the Board of Supervisors now locates tourism within its Parks and Recreations Department, whereas before it was a regional effort between the county and the city of Manassas. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. So we've realized many synergies. We're working very closely with our sports division, to identify tournaments that are already coming in here that are servicing our residents, and how can we marry those with opportunities to keep our residents here as opposed to traveling to other jurisdictions. It makes it more convenient for them and provides them an opportunity to see their own community. One of the things that came to light with the Tough Mudder event is so many of our residents hadn't even, seen some of Western Prince William County.
The Tough Mudder event was held at Silver Lake Park earlier in the spring,
yes.
and it is on the far western side of the county. It is a county park. It's been so about 10 years. There was some there was some discussion about whether or not that was the right event to bring to Prince William County. The director of parks spent a lot of time talking with the Board of Supervisors before and after the event, but It sounds like from a tourism perspective, it brought some people who may have not been to Prince William County before, brought them here and got them spending money on food and hotels. Can you talk a little bit about what you know about that event, and was it positive for the county?
Absolutely. I mean, there was economic impact. It was over it was 1.4 million from that event for county businesses. We had many residents who came out and said, I didn't even know this park existed. And it introduced our own residents to our own assets, which is fantastic, because then they can come back and do things at the park. There's so many different programs that happen there, including summer camps, and there's fishing, and you can kayak. So it really put us on the map in a lot of ways.
And of course, the Tough Mudder event is it's a race. It's an obstacle course. It's an athletic event that draws people from miles away. And Tough Mudder holds these events in towns and cities across the country, outside of the downtown area. Obviously, they want the wilderness. And it was built up for some time. We knew at least a year in advance that Prince William County had been selected for this Tough Mudder event. And there's a lot of questions on whether or not it will come back to Prince William County. Do you think that Prince William's the good fit for Tough Mudder? Do you think they'll be back?
I mean, I think it's a good fit for Prince William County. I think that we need to, find the right location for the event, and if that's possible, Prince William County will, welcome Tough Mudder back with open arms. Mm-hmm. I think there's other events, that we can target that that fit in other areas as well. So there's growth opportunities with other events that we can attract.
So that's my next question, right? And that's a great segue, because where in the county would benefit from this? We know we have Veterans Park, for instance, on the eastern side of the county. That's already a very popular place. We have fields in the center part of the county, soccer fields that are already maxed out in use. So we know there's already a built-up demand for these facilities. Where could more of these facilities go? Are we looking to put them in different places across the county? Do we want to put them in the west, where we know we have a little bit more land, versus the east, where it's for the most part built out, the most dense part of the county? Where would these facilities go, and where do you think they would benefit?
Well, there were two proposed areas when the park bond, was introduced, and those areas were really, based on a feasibility of that area, of the areas. One was on the eastern end and one on the western end, but it's really not about facilities per se. I mean, that would be icing on the cake, I think, for residents to have new facilities that they can utilize. But what it boils down to is we already have so much infrastructure that we can provide outside of the league's time, to bring events in. Our swimming pools, we've had robotics at Freedom Center, orienteering at Prince William Forest Park, trail running events at the park, cycling events throughout the county, the half marathon that happens every year. I mean, there's other things that we can do outside of the facility.
How competitive is this space? Is this something to where if Prince William doesn't jump on this now, Stafford County might jump on and do something like this, or Fairfax or Loudoun may take a program it has and expand it, and therefore capture those tax dollars? Is there some sort of urgency out there to say, if we don't act now and build these facilities and bring these programs here and focus on this, we could miss the boat?
One of the benefits that Prince William County has is that we're still growing. There's still some space available here. So we get to cherry pick what we want to spend, or have, economic development opportunities. Loudoun and Fairfax have captured a lot of opportunities already. Just in Loudoun alone, they have the ION International Training Center that they're now home to, and in Leesburg and the DC United complex. Fairfax, I just talked to their president recently, was getting an update on the task force that they've developed for sports tourism. They have dedicated staff, both of whom, came out to scope Tough Mudder. They wanted to see how it was done here, and they both had, gone out to try and get that event. So there's a lot of competition, especially when you're talking about, $11.4 billion on the table. We can get more if we want it.
And that's kind of that. It sounds like the Tough Mudder thing is something that you can really hang on your mantle, because I don't recall Tough Mudder being held in Northern Virginia before. I could be wrong, but I think this was the first time an event of that size and magnitude was held here, right?
Correct. Yeah, it had been held in Doswell previously,
which is King's Dominion
Virginia event.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we got a lot of great comments about the county, and our infrastructure from residents and visitors at the event.
Prince William, you market yourself as Washington D.C.'s playground, right? You're kind of outside the city. You're sort of where suburbia ends and the mountain region, Western, Virginia begins. There's been a lot of talk in the past 4 or 5 years about how to best develop the county, right? We have something that's called the Rural Crescent, and it's land in which that has been preserved at least for the past 20 years, where they've worked hard to fight developments from coming in there. You can only build a home on 10 acres of land, one home per every 10 acres. So it's not conducive to mass developments, mass housing developments, mass commercial developments. Might sports tourism be a way to help guide the future development of that open space, that last remaining open space in western Prince William County?
I don't know that sports tourism is the market for the Rural Crescent, the rural area. And the reason I say that is there's limits and barriers in terms of access and what you would need to do to prepare a space for an event that would be cost prohibitive to a lot of national events. However, what we would like to do from the tourism perspective is to create new economic development opportunities that preserve the open space and preserve the rural area. Perfect example of that is the Burnside Farms that is leasing some land over in Nokesville. They have cornered the market, if you will, on millions of tulips that came and were blooming in May, and then sunflowers most recently. This is a way to have the agricultural aspect of our county, still preserved and open space preserved. So that's one example, but I think that is where some opportunities lie that marry the economic development with the desire to preserve rural areas.
My last question for you: if sports tourism really takes off, right, in Prince William County, where do you see your program in the next 5 years? Will Prince William County be a name synonymous with travel sports?
It takes a long time to build a brand. I mean, we've been doing it, for the past 10 years and have been successful with, the limited resources that we've had. I think that, as we put more investment in this area and better support, our current leagues and residents to make sure that they're getting what they need. I think we've been doing that, but I think that there's ways that we can create events for them to participate in, that they want to participate in. So I think that it'll take some more time now that we are hiring a full-time person to focus on this. We'll definitely be able to map out a plan for growth.
And you plan to have that person in next calendar year after January or?
So the position will be posting, I believe, next week. And so I think, maybe a month after that, we'll have that position in place.
Sooner than January.
Anyone who's listening is interested.
If you want a job,
check out pwcgov.org. But also, I just want to say, to anyone who wants to connect with Prince William County, who wants to see what's in your own backyard, definitely visit pwc.com. That's our website. We do a calendar roundup every single week to showcase everything that's going on, and talk about Prince William County on your social channels and how much you love it here, because that's what makes a great community robust.
Ann Marie Maher is the Director of Tourism in Prince William County. We certainly thank you for joining us today on
Thank
Potomac
you.
Local Live. That's it for this edition. We will see you next time.